have you found it as a good sort of point for explaining it to others?
I think it's very, very user friendly in that regard.
Right.
The metaphor of the funnel, which is used to support the methodology, that the upper level of the funnel is the scarce resources, whether it's fish or timber or minerals, and the bottom level of the funnel, getting tighter and tighter all the time, is the cost of dealing with waste and emissions. And the funnel is removing our capacity to respond constructively and creatively and even sustainably. So with the systems thinking that I've just explained to you, it provides a way of stabilizing what we do, but also of opening out the funnel as we make progress.
Yeah. Very good. And if you've been sort of using this lens and practical tools for the last few years, what do you think are some of the challenges that you have faced as an organisation in applying this? What sort of things have you come up against? Was it education? Was it a communications issue? Was it?
I suppose one of the things is that it's actually so full in terms of a set of principles and a methodology that it's potentially being perceived as a nism, or that it's almost too total in its sense.
Too much to take on.
Too much resolved to take on at one time.
Yeah.
So I think to ask an organisation of the scale of Dublin City Council or a region like Dublin City to go for it, hook, line and sinker straight away, is a big ask.
Right.
So I think what you have to do is, this represents your framework. We have been fortunate enough to be able to convince our city councillors to make it the bedrock of the city development plan.
Right.
So it is in there. We're the largest city in the world that has brought in the TNS, and we call it the framework for Sustainable Dublin in our city development plan.
Yeah.
So this allows us to work on those 5 levels. We can continually work on awareness. We can persuade colleagues and projects that we're involved in the city, for example, like Grangegorman or Docklands, to begin to think along these lines. So the awareness is constant, and I think we're in terms of why we would go for the TNS. I think being competitive internationally is really, really important. Other cities out there in the world acknowledge that we have huge global challenges in terms of global warming and so on, and they're moving on their sustainable agendas. So we're going to fall further behind if we're not radical about responding to this challenge. I also think the regulatory environment internationally is going to be punitive. It's becoming more costly to deal with the required regulation. We want to go beyond that. This system frees us up to think about a much more ambitious set of way of doing business. And I think foreign direct investment as well. More and more firms are coming to the city and saying, what are your credentials in terms of a sustainability philosophy and also a program. So all of this is helping in all of those ways. I think it's not so difficult to persuade people that this is the way to go, but on the resourcing front, to begin to resource a full program along the lines suggested sometimes by the TNS. It's very difficult for us in Dublin, especially in the context of our budgets over the last few years.
Yeah.
So we have to use every opportunity we can to do it. Maybe combining with initiatives that are already happening, for example, in the Strategic Development Zone, the SDZ, in Docklands. It would be one such opportunity.
Okay, so how in something like the Docklands, in the plan for that in SDZ there, how do you feel it informed your approach?
Well, the context down in Docklands is that it's a work in progress. I think 38 hectares have been built and 22 hectares remain to be built. We learned a lot from the approach on the SDZ in Grangegorman. we decided that we should be upfront about a value system. So we agreed on, through consultation and so on, high-level themes. There would have been 7 or 8 high-level themes: the social and the neighbourhood, economic, the maritime, local identity. But we actually made sustainability the most important.
Okay.
We took a very broad interpretation of what sustainability should be, but we expressed it through 3 strands: the environmental, the economic and the social. The economic tends to bite at global level in terms of profile out there in the world because of the very successful sectors that are already in Docklands.
Okay.
The social and neighbourhood bites more at the local level. But we wanted to actually combine the scales to link the various objectives under the 3 strands I've just described. But we also asked the question, is the SDZ a clever way of delivering efficient, fast planning permissions, or is it about a process? So we think the implementation is also about process. And we, under the environmental, for example, we were able to call on the presence of the green IFSC and
Yes.
the kind of energy that's awareness that's generating down in that area. We were also fortunate to have been granted the Sustainable Energy Community status by SEI, along with South County and I think Tralee and Kerry. And this is a follow-on from the Dundalk Sustainable Energy Community. And under that arrangement, we were able to piggyback our programme, for example, of the Sustainable Energy Community for 2013
Right.
on the SDZ. So an example of one of the initiatives is working with Trinity College in Dublin to develop a GIS energy tracking programme on buildings in Docklands.
Right.
And this can be tied in as well with a definition of much more ambitious targets for quality of building construction, where there are a number of buildings in the Docklands area already which have LEED or BREEAM status.
Okay.
So we think that we are committed to pushing through a policy to require better performance from buildings on the energy front. But I think this kind of ambition and programme, which is very diverse under the SDZ and the SEC, could not have been achieved, I think, without the platform provided in the city plan by the Framework for Sustainable Dublin and TNS.
Okay. So it works both at that overall wide city level and then down to simple projects, if you like, even within something like Docklands, into this Trinity College approach,
Yes.
if you say, by attracting others into, because the other parts are in place.
Yes. As I say, I think what's required all the time is agility at scale level, that you're able to interface from one scale to another. A further example would have been under baselining of the ABCD, that we were fortunate to find a small sum of money to get a regional indicators project off the ground. And again, it was led technically by Trinity. It involved all the Dublin local authorities, and we didn't want to force our 6 urban themes on that process, though we made them fully aware of it. So the group of very active people involved decided on 10 urban themes and a set of 39 indicators. So that became the first regional indicators report, which is again the introduction and preface to that document acknowledges the framework of the FSD for Dublin, the TNS, as sitting within that framework and process.
And now I think we're on the 3rd year of that report on that, is that right?
Yeah, there's a distinction between the Dublin City Council Sustainability Report and the Regional Indicators Report. One is at the scale of Dublin City Sustainability Report.
Right.
And the Regional Indicators is at the scale of the region.
Okay.
It will require in time a Sustainability Report also at regional level.
Yes,
this was the Indicators Report.
Okay. So you will definitely continue using this approach to the planning. How many people in and across the city council have been made aware, have either done some training or have had sort of an introduction to this approach?
Initially, we had consultants involved in a programme of initiatives across Dublin City departments for 18 months,
Yeah.
where people were made fully aware of the system's type thinking, what the framework for Sustainable Dublin offered, and to begin to explore how it could be incorporated into various departments. Now that's ongoing, and we have a studio set up within Dublin City Council, which again is looking at the whole aspect of innovation in the City Council,
Right.
with a view to mainstreaming the best of what's happening. So that kind of work will continue through the studio.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for talking to us. It's been great.
Great.
Thank you. Okay. Whew.
Hope you don't have to do that again.